They're one of the most exciting emerging technology platforms flying in space. They're CubeSats, and many are being built, tested, and monitored by college and high school students. Will Medgar Evers College successfully launch Cunysat 1? How did they get involved with CubeSats? What other CubeSats are flying on ELaNa II? Find out on NASA Edge.
Welcome to NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look
at all things NASA.
Hey, what a great night for a launch. We're about 30 minutes away from the ELaNa II CubeSat mission.
The rocket is fueled, but I'm a little low on caffeine. It's very late, and I'm hoping that the enthusiasm will carry us all throughout the rest of the night.
We're NASA Edge, and we're happy to be here in Lompoc, California, and we'll be joined shortly by a friend of the show and special co-host, Tiffany Nail.
Yeah, and we've actually done several shows on CubeSat, but what's really special about tonight is we're actually going to witness them launching into space, and then later in the broadcast, we're going to come back and see them actually deploy in space. So it's a very kind of complete picture of CubeSats now.
And we actually have a college who's actually launching the very first CubeSat tonight.
The Cunysat 1, City University of New York.
A couple of weeks ago, we were in Brooklyn at Medgar Evers, and we talked to Charmaine Austin, one of the professors there who helped develop Cunysat 1.
So Charmaine, how did Medgar Evers College get into the CubeSat business?
It goes way back to our first major NASA grant from MUSPEN, which is part of the Minority University Research and Education Division. And my program manager at that time, James Harrington, constantly told us, you have to learn how to fly, you have to learn how to fly, because that's what NASA does. And he actually tried to give us a workshop so that we could start thinking about doing missions, mini missions, university missions, partnering with other people. And that never came to pass, but we did have an opportunity to send some students to work on other NASA missions, and we wanted to broaden the scope of that. So our first step in broadening the scope was our BalloonSat program.
Tell me a little bit about BalloonSat.
BalloonSat programs are run at a number of colleges and universities, not only in the United States, but worldwide. Basically, you put payloads on sounding balloons with communications equipment, GPS receivers for tracking. You release them, the balloon basically rises to about 100,000 feet in bursts, and then the team tracks that balloon, and you retrieve the equipment that you put on the balloon.
So all this experience that you've accumulated with BalloonSat kind of paved the way to get into the CubeSat business?
It was sort of the next step. I mean, once we got into the CubeSat business, we realized that was just a little teeny bit of experience for developing a CubeSat.
Kind of take us back to the beginning, the first day of working on the CubeSat till now. I mean, what was that experience like?
Well, the first days were very difficult and challenging. We knew absolutely nothing. We started from scratch. I was working in a group of faculty, computer science, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and we were all sort of learning this from scratch. And it was really difficult to mentor students as a result, because we were like one chapter ahead of the students. So it really took a lot of work to get that up and going.
How did you get the students to get interested in the program?
We recruited them. We asked them, do you want to try your hand at, participating in a subsystem for a CubeSat? And they said yes.
And I understand that you have other universities helping you on this project?
Oh yeah, we have, well, first of all, we have students from CUNY, from different CUNY colleges that are participating.
You say CUNY, what do you mean by CUNY?
CUNY is the City University of New York. It's a public university with 19 senior community colleges and PhD program.
From Medgar Evers' perspective, you were able to recruit other students from local universities in the city.
Right. Now, we have had CUNY-wide grants before, where we've worked with a number of colleges and students from a number of colleges. So we have built up a lot of relationships over the years that we were able to use here. We have the United Technologies Aerospace System in Danbury, Connecticut, that helped us with all of our testing, our final testing, random vibration, and our thermal vacuum bakeout. And we have very close ties with the University of Vermont. They actually participated with us in our BalloonSat for many years. And so they just moved right into the CubeSat with us.
Approximately how many students have actually been through the CubeSat program?
I think it's over 40.
Oh, wow.
Some students come just for a summer, others come for a semester, some come for a year. the longer they stay, the better the experience is. It continues to be challenging.
It's kind of hard to predict because the launch is going to be happening here pretty soon. What's going to be sort of your state of mind? Are you going to be nervous?
Yes, very. I'll be like this. Obviously it's our first effort. We've done everything we can possibly do to test it, to verify that it's going to work. But, there's still the nerves, until we hear from it, we'll be very nervous.
And I understand that you're already starting to work on a second CubeSat project.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because as soon as we delivered, and I took a vacation, I couldn't wait to start the second one. I felt like it was a learning experience. We made a lot of mistakes. We had to learn from our mistakes, and I'd like to leverage that into doing a new CubeSat.
What are some changes that you are going to do this go around for the second
Well,
CubeSat?
I think one of the changes is we'll be better mentors for our students.
Okay.
It's really difficult when you're starting something from scratch to mentor the students in the best possible way.
Do you see the enrollment or the enthusiasm increasing from the students?
Yes, there's a lot of, students are talking about it to their friends. Newer students have come up to me and said, I want to be part of the satellite project. What we want to do, the next one, is we want to engage high school students, give them a module that they can design. I had a lot of high school students ask to participate in this Cunysat 1 CubeSat, but we really didn't have the experience to bring them on in a meaningful way, and I want to do that in the next one.
Can we see the CubeSat now?
You can't. It's on the rocket right now. In fact, we haven't even seen our CubeSat for like 6 months. I'm actually going through CubeSat withdrawal now.
And I understand it's in a 1x3 P-pod that has Cal Poly and University of Michigan. You're actually in between them.
Yes, we are in between them.
You got your school flag on the P-pod?
Well, we figured since we're the first ones to fly out of New York City, we'd just do the New York City thing with the Statue of Liberty and the whole bit as our logo.
Now, Tiffany, tell us a little bit about ELaNa. Right now, this is, from what I understand, the fifth launch of CubeSats. But the mission that we're covering tonight is called ELaNa II.
That is correct.
Explain how that happens.
So with any mission, I think this is kind of best reference to shuttle. You get a number associated to it, and then things happen. The manifest changes, therefore everything kind of goes out of sequence. So it's no longer chronological order, it's whatever works out for the manifest, the rocket, and then the CubeSats being ready as well.
And the good news is that obviously for ELaNa II, we're ready to go, so we're past all of that. But you got to imagine that it's kind of interesting for all the students and all the schools that are here. They're at that point where they're going to see all their work come to fruition.
Which leads us to our school, Medgar Evers. While we were there, Blair, Chris, and myself, we had an opportunity to talk to the students who were dealing directly with their first Cunysat. And it was just great to see how involved and how interested the kids were in the program.
We're here with Ernst, who's a systems engineer on Cunysat. So what exactly did you do as systems engineer on that project?
I had to get everybody on the same page. We would schedule weekly meetings. We would come in, even on Saturdays, Sundays, sometimes I would call, everybody, be like, we have to have a meeting. We need to get here.
Are the other students upset with you for always calling them and pestering them all the time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like, you're calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning. What's wrong with you, But, it was all in good effort. And I feel like, there are times when it was rough, but everybody was there and everybody was together. And, people would spend Saturdays, we'd spend like 6-7 hours and we would just be, calculating stuff and writing on the board, and it was really fun.
Well, you're giving a little bit of flavor. What was the biggest challenge then?
One of the hardest things was to communicate with, this new knowledge. Everybody was brand new, fresh, didn't understand everything, and we had to start from the bottom and work our way to the top. Textbooks, read textbooks, get outside sources, anything that we could do to try to make this project successful, we did. Because we're at different schools, we're at different locations, that was another issue. I was at Cooper Union, which was in Manhattan. Medgar Evers is in Brooklyn. You had people coming from New Jersey, people coming from Vermont. It was,
wow.
Yeah, it was really that I feel like was a real challenge.
Gotta have good tires to work in the satellite business.
Oh, definitely.
Tell us a little bit about the software that you had to write for Cunysat.
Well, the command and data handling team, which I was part of, was tasked with writing the software for the microcontroller, which is the brain of the satellite. It controls all other subsystems. So it has to juggle, in essence, to make sure that the satellite is functioning properly as it orbits the Earth.
How big is a microcontroller in Cunysat?
Microcontroller is very small. It's about this size. And I prefer to think of it as a computer from 1980s because you have the same frequency, the same memory capacity that it has as the computers from 1980s. It's just the power requirement is very low. So it's perfect to control the satellite, which operates on the battery power. The actual microcontroller is manufactured by Texas Instruments, and it is a modern microcontroller. They manufacture a family of microcontrollers that you can find in all electronics devices. You can find it in medical equipment, I think even electric razors, and they control a lot of equipment.
Ralph, how did you get involved in developing satellites?
I would say getting involved started maybe when I was a kid, when I was watching maybe like the series Buck Rogers. I don't know if you guys heard about it.
Oh, yeah.
When it started, they said that the NASA sent a satellite in space. Maybe like that was the first time I heard about NASA. My next step would be when I was reading Fantastic Four. Yeah, that's the second step. That's where, you got the taste for it.
Yeah.
Because before you get involved with something, we got to love it first.
Are you sure that you're not really just hoping that some lab accident will happen and you'll be given some superpowers that would enable you to be a superhero? Because that's what I'm hoping for. I don't know if that's what...
No, sometimes I burn some little component. Yeah, those little accidents happen. But big accident, dangerous situation, not yet.
In the wink of an eye, his life support systems were frozen by temperatures beyond imagination.
Cynthia, you're a project manager on Cunysat. I also understand that your role is not quite over with Cunysat. When it deploys in space, there's actually some data collection. So what's going to happen once Cunysat deploys from your standpoint?
Well, it's going to be admitting CW, which is Morse code. And in order for us to mess with the transceiver, we need to have a license. And I did take amateur radio license for that reason, to be able to operate the transceiver and see if we can get anything from there.
So you'll actually verify from a ground station that you're listening to Cunysat. How will you know that you're hearing Cunysat and not a different satellite?
Well, there's this JSAT track, which it's going to basically tell us the position and when it's going to have an overpass on our ground station. So that's how we're going to actually track it.
And you'll just try to pick up this Morse code when it's in the track?
Yes, we're going to try to pretty much position the antennas the right way, and hopefully we're going to pick it up.
So what's the message that you expect to hear from Cunysat?
Basically, if we're still alive, this is the power, everything's fine, that kind of thing.
Oh, so it's not just sending a signal, you're going to send certain signals saying that different subsystems are working, and you know Morse code well enough to determine whether or not...
I'm still working on that one.
Well, see, you can actually, with your computer programming skills, you can write an app that will interpret Morse code, and then...
That's an idea, yeah.
How did you get involved in programming and thus involved in satellites?
In the beginning?
Yeah, sure, from the beginning.
Well, I was an 80s baby, so I grew up with cartridges, game cartridges. So I grew up with Mario, I grew up with Street Fighter, and...
You struck me as a Street Fighter
really?
player, yeah, I sensed that.
Yes, I love Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all those. And one day I discovered that I can code for games, and I didn't realize that until later on in my life. So that's how I initially got into programming. Now it's a little bit different. I just do it because I enjoy it. But yeah, that was the initial spark.
Is there anything that you've done here that has been something that you never thought you'd do with the Cunysat program?
Well, I never thought that I would be involved with writing code to control an antenna system. That's one thing that I didn't think I would be involved with.
How did you get involved with writing code?
I've just always been interested in taking things apart and putting them together. And after you've done that a few times, you want to see how it runs, what really makes it run, besides the power.
What was something interesting that you took apart that you learned how it actually worked?
That would be my first video game system when I was 13.
What's up with video game systems in Medgar Evers College?
Well, you have to take a break from all your research and all your studies, and the best way to do that sometimes is to play a game and get lost in a maze.
What's next for you? What are you working on now where you can bring all that real-life experience from Cunysat to bear? Well, what's the next project for you?
Hopefully, I can get a job. Yeah, get a job.
That's got to be impressive to go in and try to get a job when you have a satellite flying in space.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was a great opportunity working on that satellite, and I'm pretty sure that now my resume will look way better than before on paper, but also on all the skill that I acquired to here. Because when you get out of school, you might get a sense that you know about it, but from the theory, okay, to the real life, I would say like to the practice, it's really different. The skill and the experience was really, there's no word for it. I don't think like nobody can put a price on it.
I understand some of you and your team will actually be out at the launch of this mission?
Yes, for our team, this is the first time many of us are going to actually see a launch live. And the excitement is overwhelming. I remember when I was a kid, I was always wanting to, see a launch for the first time, and getting this opportunity is like a dream come true. Definitely, I feel like, I'm one step closer to my dreams, and I just, I'm really excited.
Launch sequencer start. Launch enabled.
10. The launch vehicle, go for launch. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Way up, RD-180 ignition, and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the NRO L-39 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office.
What was most fascinating about seeing the launch from our vantage point was at other launches we seemed to see either the shuttle or the rocket kind of move away. This sort of seemed to go straight up. It was kind of a unique perspective that I'd never seen before at a launch.
I think it was the closest too.
Yeah.
Some of the workers were saying that we were about a mile out, from the launch pad, which we're usually used to 2 to 3 miles for normal launches, East Coast. And we're back with Nick from Cal Poly. How you doing, Nick?
Good. How are you guys?
Not too bad. And we actually have the infamous P-pod in front of us, or a sample of what is actually on the spacecraft right now. And take us kind of through what this P-pod's all about.
So this P-pod is a space-designed, built, tested, and proven glorified jack-in-the-box. So you can fit, as you can see here, this is 3 U's worth of length, and this is 1 U. So this is, the 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters. So what happens is we bolt this to the rocket.
Okay.
And when the main payload has deployed and launch services have determined that it's an appropriate time, they'll deploy the CubeSats out of the P-pod.
The 4 CubeSats that are connected to ELaNa, we probably have a variation of it being 1U, 2U, and 3U,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Is the P-pod just being used for the NASA CubeSats, or are they being used for all 12 CubeSats?
The P-pod's going to be used for all 12 CubeSats, correct.
So how's that work then with Cal Poly? So let's say, for example, if I'm Medgar Evers College, did they send the satellite to you to put it into the P-pod? Do you send them an example of the P-pod so they can work with it to see that it fits?
Correct. We do have test pods that we'll send out for fit checks and vibrations testing towards the end of the process before integration. Typically, teams will travel to Cal Poly and do their final vibrations and any vacuum testing they might need to do with us with the flight hardware.
I got a question for you guys, and this is kind of a different kind of question. Now that you've both, designed and built a CubeSat, are you going to try to maybe do more CubeSats? Or are you going to try to do bigger satellites? Because CubeSats are now becoming very popular in their own right across the science and engineering community.
This is actually a stepping stone for us. Learning all of this and putting all of this knowledge together will help us to further our development. If we actually go ahead and pursue a second Cunysat, we will definitely make it a lot more complicated and, and basically take it to the next level.
By next level, earns mean we're going to have maybe like a better scientific mission. And maybe, you never know, get it bigger, move out of the CubeSat, maybe get a real, satellite, functioning satellite.
I don't know if you guys out there have noticed that these two students now have a little bit of moxie. They're actually acting like veterans now. I tell you, it's great, it's awesome, and how's it feel to be about ready to witness your satellite take its first flight?
Blair, the feeling is amazing. Seeing this small cube develop into a fully functional satellite is amazing. And I have my teammates here to support me.
Yes.
Seeing my first launch live, it's something I'll cherish like for the rest of my life. Honestly, if you heard the saying, hard work pays off, this is a testament to it.
Oh, there it goes.
Wow. See it goes right there.
Oh, yeah.
Bridget, a couple weeks ago, we were in Brooklyn, and you were preparing to come on out here to Vandenberg Air Force Base to see the launch of ELaNa II and the deployment of the Cunysat. Now that it has happened, what's going through your head here?
Oh, everything it's just everything. I'm already ready to start focusing on Cunysat 2 as we track Cunysat 1, and it's just really fantastic right now. My heart is just pounding a million miles an hour.
And it should be. Owen, we didn't talk to you when we were in Brooklyn, but you saw your satellite deployed. What's going through your head right now?
Just quite a lot of things. I was the first systems engineer on the project, and it's just amazing to see this project that we started so many years ago just come into fruition, launching. And it's like watching all these ideas, all the hard work of the students being thrown out there from the Peapod. It was amazing. I can't wait to see the first data coming down from the satellite.
Speaking of data, to actually receive that first bit of data, that first beacon,
it's going to be fantastic. We're going to jump sky high. Mm-hmm. It's going to be completely awesome. And once we know we have that first beacon, then we know we're ready for the second Cunysat.
Owen, tell us a little bit about the next steps for you in this program, moving forward with Cunysat and moving on toward Cunysat 2.
Well, I know that we have a lot of plans that were on this particular satellite that are just going to be moving forward to the next one, and then the next one, right? So Cunysat 2 is going to be bigger, better. Right now, like Ernst said earlier, this is kind of like our stepping stone. So Cunysat 2 is going to be flying more science. It's going to be flying more technology. We're hoping to get a lot more effort from a lot of the other institutions in CUNY with it too. So it'll just be bigger, better, badder, and all the more awesome.
Well, what a success. We had deployment of the CubeSats. We had a great launch this evening, and we've wrapped up, it seems like a 24-hour coverage of the mission. There's only two things left now. One is for the schools to communicate with their satellites, and for everyone to get some sleep.
We may go to get some sleep. To a man and woman, they all were going back to get data.
Right.
I mean, they weren't resting. They're excited to go actually hear from their satellites. I tell you, they got a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and we wish them well.